Welcome to the Global WarWatch Network. Poland is building one of Europe's most advanced battle tanks right at home. With South Korea's K2 tech, local production, and cutting-edge upgrades, is this the start of a new defense powerhouse in Europe? Let's break it down. Today, we're embarking on an exploration of Poland's, really remarkable strategic shift in military modernization. We'll peel back the layers on those landmark agreements with South Korea, look into the K2 Black Panther tank itself, and dissect its specialized K2PL variant, the one that's going to be built right there in Poland. And this isn't just about buying new tanks off the shelf. It's really about industrial readiness, NATO interoperability, and, the whole changing landscape of European defense. You'll discover how this collaboration impacts not just Poland, but the broader global defense market and maybe the future of military partnerships, too.
Yeah, what's really insightful here, I think, is getting a handle on the philosophy behind Poland's Wilk modernization initiative. Wilk means wolf in Polish, right? Which kind of signifies this comprehensive, almost aggressive overhaul of their military capabilities. This isn't just, an acquisition program off the shelf. It's a really profound industrial partnership. And it fundamentally redefines Poland's strategic autonomy while also reinforcing their strength within NATO.
Strategic autonomy, that's a key phrase.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because, if you look historically, many nations relied on foreign powers for major defense platforms. And often they sacrifice control over critical things like maintenance, upgrades, even independent deployment sometimes. Poland's approach here with the K2PL, it fundamentally shifts that dynamic. They're not just users anymore.
They're becoming co-creators, as you said.
Exactly, co-creators. And that position lets them adapt much more rapidly to new threats, secure their own supply chains, which is crucial, and potentially, exert greater influence within NATO itself. It sets a really important precedent, I think, for other European nations maybe considering similar paths to a more robust, self-reliant defense. It's quite a visionary program. Shows a nation really taking proactive steps for its long-term security.
Moving from consumer to co-creator. That's definitely a shift. So let's unpack how they got here. To really grasp the significance of what they're doing now, we need to go back a bit, back to the blueprint, right? The origins of the K2 Black Panther itself. This tank wasn't just, thrown together quickly. Its development started way back mid-1990s by the South Korean Agency for Defense Development.
That's right. A long development cycle.
And the ambition was pretty big from the start. Create a modern main battle tank to replace their older K1 tanks, which, were pretty decent for their time, but the battlefield was changing, clearly, demanding a new generation of armor.
Absolutely. The K1 was based on the Abrams, but tailored. The K2 was a clean sheet, really designed for the Korean Peninsula's challenges, but adaptable.
So the first K2 prototypes, they emerged around 2007, showcasing innovative design, advanced tech for the time, really cutting edge. Then just a year later, 2008, it got its combat certification. That's a big step. Validated its readiness after, I assume, some pretty tough testing.
No, undoubtedly. Rigorous testing is standard for these kinds of platforms.
And by 2013, full-scale production of the K2 Black Panther had started in South Korea. So what we're looking at is a machine designed over almost 2 decades, meticulously refined, built for contemporary battlefields, emphasizing, speed, firepower, survivability, all in a modern package. It really speaks to that long-term strategic planning South Korea is known for.
Indeed. And that mature, homegrown development cycle, that gave Poland a remarkably solid foundation to build on for their own ambitious plans. When you connect this to the bigger picture, that initial framework agreement, July 27, 2022, between PGZ, that's the Polish Armaments Group, the big state-owned defense conglomerate, and Hyundai Rotem. It wasn't just about buying some tanks. It was this incredibly ambitious, wide-ranging blueprint, a real game-changer for their military.
1,000 tanks, wasn't it? The initial total plan.
Yeah, the scope was just staggering. An initial plan for 1,000 K2 family tanks in total. That's a huge number. And it broke down into 2 main parts for the tanks themselves. First, an initial direct purchase of 180 K2s built in South Korea. That was for speed, to get boots, or rather tracks on the ground quickly, bolster their existing forces immediately. And then, maybe even more importantly, the licensed production of 820 K2PL units. Right there in Poland.
The K2PL being the Polish-specific version.
Exactly. Tailored. And that production was slated to start from 2026 and run through 2034. This commitment to domestic licensed production, that's what really makes this deal different.
And it wasn't just tanks, right? The Wilk initiative was broader.
Oh, absolutely vital point. To understand the full depth of Wilk, you have to see it wasn't isolated. This broader defense modernization effort kicked off with real urgency in 2022, also included huge buys of other systems. K9 self-propelled howitzers, another South Korean system, by the way, FA-50 light fighters, Chunmoo, multiple rocket launchers.
So a complete overhaul. Land, air, artillery.
Precisely. A holistic, integrated approach. They weren't just patching holes. They were systematically upgrading everything, forging a fully integrated, interoperable, modern fighting force. It really represents a rapid, comprehensive shift in their whole defense posture, driven by, let's be frank, very real geopolitical concerns.
And they definitely didn't hang about getting these K2s into service. The initial deliveries started incredibly fast. December 2022, the first batch of 10 arrived. And they weren't mothballed. Straight to the 20th Mechanized Brigade, frontline unit integration right away.
Shows the urgency, doesn't it?
It really does, and the pace kept up. By March 2025, so just over 2 years later, around 110 K2s out of that first 180 had already been delivered. That's not just receiving boxes, that's absorbing a major new capability very quickly.
It's impressive logistics and training effort alongside the delivery.
For sure. And these tanks are being spread out strategically. Some went to the 15th and 9th Brigades of the 16th Mechanized Division. That's a key part of their armored force, the pointy end, you might say. Others went straight to the Poznan Army Training Center, specifically for crew training, getting everyone up to speed.
Makes sense. You need trained crews just as much as you need the tanks.
Exactly. So this rapid integration, it just highlights Poland's undeniable urgency. Modernizing the armored forces, getting soldiers trained, boosting combat readiness fast. It really tells you a lot about how they see the current security situation.
A clear signal of intent and perceived need.
Okay, now let's jump forward to the really recent stuff, a truly landmark moment. This solidifies the long-term strategy, pushes Wilk into its most ambitious phase yet, August 1st, 2025. A critical executive agreement signed by the Polish Ministry of National Defense.
The second big contract.
Right. And this wasn't just for more K2s. It included the very first batch of K2PL variants, that Polish modified version we mentioned. And crucially, these will be assembled in Poland. So the signing, it basically finalizes phase 2 of this whole military transformation. A clear, ongoing commitment.
Locking in that domestic production piece.
And the setting for the signing was pretty symbolic too, wasn't it?
Yes, at the WarWatch facility in Gliwice. That's the site designated to become Poland's domestic tank production hub. Really underscores the focus.
And the people there? High-level attendance.
Very high level. Showcase the commitment. You had the Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, Secretary of State Paweł Bejda for Poland. Political buy-in. From South Korea, Defense Minister Gibak-an was present, emphasizing that bilateral strategic link and the actual contract, signed by General Artur Kuptel, head of Poland's armament agency, and Yongbei Lee, the president of Hyundai Rotem.
So no doubt about the importance both sides place on this.
None at all. It underscores the strategic weight and, frankly, the deep trust involved in this partnership.
So let's talk numbers with this new contract. How big are we talking?
We're talking big. The value alone is, well, staggering. Estimated initially around $6.7 billion US. That's roughly 24 billion Polish zloty. Though there was some smart renegotiation earlier in 2025, brought it down slightly to about $6.5 billion. Still huge.
And how many tanks does that cover?
This second tranche covers another 180 K2 tanks. But here's the really key detail, highlighting that Wilk initiative core. Over 60 of these specifically, at least 63 units, will be the Polish modified K2PL configuration.
And the production split, how does that work?
That's absolutely central to Poland's industrial goals. Hyundai Rotem builds 117 in South Korea, but those 63 plus K2PLs, they get assembled by PGZ at WarWatch in Poland. That's the tangible step towards real industrial self-sufficiency we talked about.
It's not just the tanks being delivered then.
Not at all. The contract is incredibly robust. It goes way beyond just the armored vehicles. It includes over 80 auxiliary and support vehicles, things like recovery vehicles, bridge layers, engineering support. You need the whole ecosystem. Plus, a comprehensive logistics infrastructure package. Full technical support from Hyundai Rotem. And, maybe the most valuable part long-term, a critical transfer of production technologies to the Polish defense industry.
That tech transfer is the real prize, isn't it?
It really is. It highlights the profound long-term industrial benefit for Poland, moves them from just being a buyer to a capable manufacturer, and eventually maybe even a design partner, an exporter. That's the goal.
And the timeline for this new batch? Still aggressive.
Oh, yes. Reinforces the urgency we've seen all along. The first 30 tanks from this new batch are scheduled for delivery as early as 2026. Just a relentless pace towards modernization.
Okay, that tech transfer is clearly a game changer. Let's dive into the K2PL itself. This Polish variant, it's not just a standard K2 with Polish markings, is it?
No, definitely not. It's specifically adapted, tailored to Polish operational requirements, designed for their specific defense landscape potential threats.
So what are the key differences? Survivability upgrades.
That's a major area. The K2PL gets reinforced modular composite armor, which is already good, but it adds additional explosive reactive armor ERA blocks. Those ERA blocks, they contain an explosive layer that detonates outwards when hit by something like a shaped charge or even some kinetic rounds. It disrupts the incoming projectile.
Significantly boosting protection against modern threats.
Exactly, but it goes beyond passive and reactive armor. It gets advanced active defensive systems too, including a hard kill active protection system, or APS.
The kind that shoots down incoming missiles.
Precisely. Designed to physically intercept and destroy anti-tank guided missiles, RPGs, and importantly drones before they hit the tank. Given how prevalent drones are on modern battlefields, well, that's crucial. It also includes an electronic warfare suite, specifically targeting drone threats, jamming their signals, disrupting control links.
That seems like a direct response to recent conflicts.
Absolutely. A proactive response. Lessons learned being implemented quickly. Investing heavily in counter-UAV capabilities that, frankly, a lot of older legacy tanks just don't have integrated. It shows forward thinking.
Okay, protection is enhanced. What about seeing and shooting, situational awareness, offensive capabilities?
Significant improvements there, too. It gets a 12.7mm remote-controlled weapon station, or RCWS. This means the commander or gunner can operate that heavy machine gun from inside the tank, under armor. Huge safety upgrade compared to someone having to stand exposed in the hatch.
Right, and seeing the battlefield.
A 360-degree panoramic awareness system, giving the crew comprehensive visibility all around the tank. Detect threats from any direction. Much better for complex fights. Armament-wise, it keeps the main gun, the CN08 120mm smoothbore gun. Very potent, and it retains the autoloader.
Which means faster firing, smaller crew.
Yes. Faster rate of fire, reduces crew to 3, which has benefits for weight, logistics, and crew safety, less exposure. And that gun can fire standard rounds, but also guided munitions, like the Korean Smart Top Attack munition K-Stamp.
Top attack, hitting the weaker top armor.
Exactly. They fly up and come down on the target. Much higher probability of a kill against even heavily armored tanks. A big advantage.
And for working with allies, NATO interoperability.
Critical point. The K2PL includes NATO standard digital communications, ensures seamless integration, talking to other alliance forces during joint ops, solidifies Poland's commitment to collective defense, make sure these new tanks fit right into the bigger NATO framework.
You also mentioned that hydropneumatic suspension earlier. That sounds pretty unique. What does it actually let the tank do?
Yes, the suspension. It really sets the K2 apart in mobility and tactical flexibility. It's not like a car suspension. Think of it more like a tank that can adjust its posture on the fly. It can kneel down.
Nail. To make itself smaller.
Precisely. Reduce its silhouette, making it a harder target when hiding behind terrain, a hull-down position. Or it can stand taller to get over obstacles that might stop other tanks. And maybe most importantly, it can tilt side to side or front to back on uneven ground to keep the hull, and therefore the gun, perfectly level and stable.
Which helps with firing accuracy.
Massively. Higher first-shot kill probability, especially in tricky environments like fighting in cities, on hillsides, even setting up to cross rivers, is a real tactical edge for both survivability and hitting the target.
Were there other upgrades considered for the K2PL but maybe didn't make the cut?
Yes, there were. Earlier on, there were proposals for things like adding a 7th road wheel on each side.
Why would they do that?
Potentially for better weight distribution, especially with the added armor and systems, lower ground pressure. And there was talk of incorporating a separate ammunition compartment, maybe in the turret puzzle, for enhanced crew safety if the ammo was hit.
But those didn't happen.
No, they were ultimately rejected, not because they weren't good ideas, but because of the practicalities. Those kinds of changes would have needed pretty extensive structural redesigns of the turret, the hull, which means significantly higher costs, much longer development times, and potential disruption to the production schedule they needed to meet. So it highlights that balance between the ideal capability and what's actually feasible engineering-wise, on time and on budget.
Makes sense. Any future upgrades planned?
Well, looking ahead, there's consideration for integrating programmable ammunition, similar to the kind Poland's Abrams tanks already use, things like airburst rounds. That could really enhance firepower standardization across their whole tank fleet. Abrams and K2PLs using some common advanced ammo types. Streamlines logistics, training, supply chains, another layer of strategic thinking there.
That adjustable suspension really does sound impressive, a lot of versatility.
Yeah.
And as you said, the domestic production part really lifts this whole thing up. Bumararidi in Gliwice. That's the place to watch.
Absolutely. Operated by PGZ, it's specifically being geared up to be Poland's main tank hub. Assembly, licensed production of the K2PL, and it's not just, bolting kits together. The plant is undergoing a major, complex modernization, getting ready for the intricate processes of integrating K2PL systems, assembly, and eventually local fabrication of some key components too.
So new machinery, training.
Huge investment, state-of-the-art machinery, advanced training for Polish engineers and technicians developing specialized tooling. They're essentially building a modern tank factory with that crucial South Korean expertise guiding them.
What's the target output? How many tanks a year?
The strategic goal is pretty clear and ambitious. Bumararidi is projected to hit an annual output capacity of up to 50 K2PL tanks by 2028.
50 a year. That's significant capacity.
It really is.
Yeah.
And that level of industrial readiness, it's vital for a few reasons. First, it sustains long-term production. Poland can maintain, upgrade its own fleet for decades, reducing reliance on others. Second, and maybe more strategically impactful, it positions Poland to potentially export these tanks to regional partners.
Becoming a supplier themselves.
Exactly. Solidifies Poland's emerging role as a key defense manufacturing player, not just for itself, but maybe for allies too. That creates, several things. First, it just underscores the sheer volume and the urgency of Poland's order. It's clearly priority number one for Hyundai Rotem right now. Second, it really shows the depth of their commitment to this partnership. Reallocating everything isn't a small decision. Major internal shifts.
Good news for Poland's delivery schedule, I guess.
Fantastic news for Poland. Ensures rapid delivery, but there's a consequence. It's had a notable, albeit maybe temporary, impact on Hyundai Rotem's domestic commitments. Deliveries for the South Korean army itself have paused. For instance, there's talk of potential postponement for 150 K2 PIP units. That's the Product Improvement Program version for their own army, which were approved back in 2023 for their Batch 4. Those might be delayed now.
So Poland's demand is so big, it's affecting South Korea's own army deliveries.
It illustrates the immense scale, yes, and Hyundai Rotem's extraordinary dedication to meeting Poland's requirements, even if it means short-term delays at home. It just highlights how critical this Polish order is for the company's long-term export strategy and its global market position.
That's fascinating, the global knock-on effects. Okay, beyond the factories, these K2s are already showing up in NATO exercises, right? Integrating operationally.
They are. And that's a truly significant milestone for both Poland and the alliance. Poland did its first international K2 deployment during a multinational NATO exercise called Slovak Shield 25. That was back in May 2025. And it wasn't just for show. Tanks from Poland's 9th Armored Cavalry Brigade were actively participating in tough drills, supported by their 16th Logistics Regiment too, showing the whole support chain working.
And this was the first time for a NATO K2 deployment outside Korea.
That's right. Historically significant. First operational deployment by a NATO member state beyond the Korean peninsula.
What were the main goals of doing that?
Multifaceted, really. Primarily, reinforce Poland's role as a capable, interoperable NATO member. Prove these new tanks work seamlessly within the alliance's command, control, logistics framework. Also, just showcasing the K2's mobility, its logistical flexibility in a demanding exercise setting, showing it's ready for various scenarios. And yet, let's be honest, there was definitely a promotional aspect too.
Showing it off to neighbors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Demonstrating the platform's performance to potential buyers nearby, like Slovakia, Romania, countries that are definitely watching Poland's modernization closely as they figure out their own future defense needs.
Which leads nicely into this idea of Poland becoming a regional export hub.
It's a crucial strategic point. The licensed production of K2PLs in Poland, plus the big upgrades at Bumararidi. It's explicitly designed to support future exports. This isn't just a domestic thing. It has real regional security implications for Central and Eastern Europe.
Are we seeing interest already?
Tangible interest, yes. Slovakia, for example, has clearly expressed interest in acquiring Polish-assembled K2PL tanks. That's a strong signal. Neighbors looking to Poland, not just as a partner, but as a potential supplier of advanced gear, leveraging proximity, that emerging manufacturing base.
Any other joint programs being discussed?
Discussions have gone beyond just tanks. There's talk about other joint programs, like potentially involving the Rosomach LAPC, that's a Polish armored personnel carrier, maybe equipped with the Tura 30 turret.
Yeah.
And even joint production of things like 155mm artillery ammunition between Poland and regional neighbors.
So building broader defense industrial links in the region.
That seems to be the vision. fostering robust defense industrial partnerships across Central Europe, creating a more interconnected, resilient, and frankly more formidable regional security setup, could significantly boost NATO's eastern flank capabilities and help standardize equipment among allies there.
And interest in the K2 generally, it's not just Poland's neighbors, right? It's wider.
Right. Expanding globally, yeah. Shows the tank's broad appeal for different kinds of operational needs. Romania, for instance, they did live fire trials with the K2 back in 2024, and reports suggest they're seriously considering buying up to 300 tanks. That would be huge for Romania. Could complement or maybe even replace their current Abrams fleet eventually.
300 tanks. Wow. Anyone else?
Beyond Europe, Iraq has expressed interest, looking at potentially buying more than 200 units. Shows the K2's perceived suitability for different environments, different challenges. And then other nations like Egypt, Armenia, and again Slovakia, they've all had preliminary discussions or field evaluations. Widespread global curiosity.
What does all this global interest mean for Hyundai Rotem and production? Can they keep up?
It's significant for them. The Polish production line for the K2PL, that might actually help Hyundai Rotem serve some of these additional export markets more efficiently. A European production base is valuable, but if more countries jump in with big orders like Romania's potential 300 or Iraq's 200, the total demand could become immense. Annual production might need to go well beyond 60 units globally, which could mean needing a second full production line back in South Korea just to meet demand.
So this whole Polish program is really driving things.
It's the linchpin right now, the ongoing delivery to Poland, starting K2PL assembly. It is, factually, the largest export program ever for South Korea's land systems sector. It's a monumental deal that's going to shape armored vehicle production schedules and strategic partnerships for the next decade. Easy, maybe longer.
Okay, so with all this interest, let's get back to the tech. What exactly makes the K2 so attractive on a technical level?
Beyond just, raw specs, it's the smart integration systems. Core engineering first. It's got a powerful 1,500 horsepower diesel engine, gives a great mobility, acceleration, responsiveness, even on tough terrain.
And the fire control, you said it was advanced?
Truly cutting edge. A fully digital suite. It integrates high-res thermal imaging for night, bad weather ops, millimeter wave radar for detecting targets, especially obscured ones, laser range finding for pinpoint accuracy. And what's really impressive is how this allows for automatic target tracking and engagement.
So it can lock onto a target and follow it?
Yes. Track it automatically, calculate the firing solution, even against moving targets. Allows for a very rapid, precise engagement, massively boosts that first shot kill probability, which is everything in a tank fight.
And the main gun again?
The CN08 120mm smoothbore gun. Very capable. Helped by that autoloader for consistent rapid fire rate, even bouncing across country without tiring the crew out. And it fires not just standard kinetic energy rounds and heat rounds, but also those advanced guided ones like K-STAM.
The top attack munition.
Right. Strategic advantage there is huge. Lofted trajectory comes down on the weakest part of the enemy tank top turret, engine deck. Much higher kill chance even against well-protected tanks.
Defensively. Beyond the armor and APS.
Very well equipped. Laser warning receivers tells the crew if they're being painted by an enemy laser designator. Radar warning receivers for airborne or ground radar threats. Multispectral smoke launchers. These are important. They don't just create visual smoke. They obscure across different wavelengths, visual light, infrared, even radar. Can make the tank effectively disappear from enemy sensors, making targeting much harder. And as we've discussed, those built-in provisions for hard kill active protection systems, like the one fully integrated on the K2PL. It's a really comprehensive defensive package for modern warfare.
Okay, so bringing this all together, what's the big takeaway? Poland's strategy with South Korea focused on the K2 and KPPL. It's clearly reshaping their defense capability, boosting their industrial strength significantly.
Unquestionably.
From that first framework deal in 2022, right through to the big executive agreement in August 2025, solidifying Phase 2. We've just seen this rapid, really significant commitment, both to getting cutting-edge tech and, maybe more crucially, building their own domestic production capacity. It feels like more than just buying hardware. It's a strategic investment in their future security, their economy, their regional standing.
Absolutely. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, this deep collaboration, it cements Poland's role as a critically capable, interoperable NATO member.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not just about getting advanced kit, though that's key. It's about building that indigenous capacity, positioning Poland as a potential defense manufacturing hub right there in Central Europe.
Yeah.
And that is bound to have ripple effects across the whole European defense landscape, global arms markets.
Raises some big questions, doesn't it?
It really does. What impact will this growing defense industrial partnership actually have on the balance of power, on future security structures in Europe? especially as other nations are looking to modernize their own forces in this, let's say, rapidly changing geopolitical climate. The president, Poland setting self-reliance alongside strong alliances, that's definitely something to watch closely.
So, as Poland keeps integrating these advanced tanks, expanding its production lines, really transforming its defense industry, here's something for you, the listener, to consider. How might this bold, proactive move influence other European nations needing to modernize? And what new opportunities might pop up for deeper defense cooperation, maybe industrial partnerships across the region now that Poland's emerging as such a serious player in European defense? Thank you for joining us today for this exploration. If you found this discussion insightful, please do like, share, and subscribe to the Global WarWatch Network. It really helps us out. We'd also love to hear your thoughts, so please share them in the comments section below. You can also join us on social media. All the links for that are provided in the description. Thanks again for listening.